Hi, folks. We're going to do a little deep dive tonight into some of the hidden aspects of this wonderful experience of love that can create the most enormous, expansive high experiences and some of the most devastating experiences that we have in our lives as humans. And I'm going to show you some of the patterns and some of the formulas that are happening in the background. And in this, you're likely to meet you and your own patterns, everybody you've ever been in a relationship with, good and bad. If you came here with a partner, there might be some interesting conversations on the way home. Enjoy that one. And give you an introduction into your own flavor of where you go crazy in love. And importantly, what do we do about that? How do we show up and love ourselves and others better? We know that relationships are fundamental for our quality of life and our happiness. They're one of the biggest factors. And this talk is about learning to do that even better than you're doing it already. A little caveat: if you've ever been in a relationship, had the misfortune of being in a relationship, I have, I'm sure many of us have, with somebody dangerous, with somebody who was dangerous for your nervous system, emotionally, physically, sexually, intellectually, spiritually, some of the dynamics we talk about here aren't enough. That particular type of relationship needs a very safe and radical form of therapy that is beyond the dynamics that we're going to talk about tonight. So the invitation, and I'll tell you about me in a little while, but first of all, let's do an exploration into you. So the invitation, if it feels good and you don't have to, is to close your eyes for a moment and to think back to a time, ideally with a romantic partner. If you haven't had a romantic partner, you can choose a parent, a sibling, a co-worker, or a friend. And to think back to a time when they did something that you didn't like, something that was frustrating, something that was hurtful, something that was disappointing. And notice what happens in your body. Notice your own flavor of dysregulation. Notice where it sits. Notice the thoughts that join in with that. Notice the feelings that arise from those thoughts. Notice the urges that come alongside those feelings. When you've been in touch enough with your flavor, come back to the room. When you're ready, back to the room, and take a look at the graph. Take a look at the quadrants. Chances are your flavor of dysregulation, when somebody who means something to you does something you don't like, is that we move into one of these categories. Perhaps you're a red, and a red holds the flavor of, you're the problem, you over there are the problem, and you're not worth my time. Red is the quadrant of indifference and dismissal and passive aggression. If you know you are red, there will be a healthy amount of skepticism about you. There'll be a healthy amount of, I'm not going to take too much of this in until you prove yourself to me. And maybe that's not your flavor. Maybe you're a little bit more of a yellow. And a yellow flavor is, how dare you? How dare you have done something that doesn't feel good for me? A yellow will write you a 13-page Word document on how not to trigger you. They will tell you exactly specifically what they need when they're angry, when they're sad, when they're frustrated, and hell mind you if that's not what you do in those moments. I might be a yellow. Yellow is the quadrant of reactivity, of control, and of rage. And maybe you're a green. If you're a green, you've probably worked hard with everybody else in your life to be here tonight to make sure you can secure a little bit of time for you. Because greens are looking after everybody in the world. The flavor of green is, please don't leave me. I am angry about this thing and I can't speak it out. I'm so scared of making this situation worse that I'm just going to hold it inside and it's going to turn into resentment. Green is a quadrant of people pleasing, of codependency, and of manipulation, which is a strong word. And what I mean by that in this context is there's no direct route to power. So the Greens take an indirect route to power to have some of the things that they need. And maybe you're a blue, and the flavor of blue is why even try? This doesn't feel possible to have a different result here. This is resignation, it's depression, it's detachment, it's suppression. And if you're a blue, you maybe don't know how you feel a lot of the time, and when you do know, it feels impossible to speak it out in the moment. And what matters about this grid is the axes that we see. Somewhere in the middle sits relational health. And we've got a horizontal axis which is walled off. I'm not going to let any part of you in, and I'm not going to let any part of me out. All the way to boundaryless. I don't know where I begin, where you end, and I need your validation and your approval and to be seen by you to know that I'm okay. And then we have the other axis, grandiosity to shame. Grandiosity is my agenda matters more than yours. My needs are more important, my wants are more important, my preferences are more important. It's the emotion of contempt facing out at the world. And below that, follow the same line of contempt down, and the other expression of that is inwardly focused contempt. I am the problem, not the world is the problem. And everybody sits somewhere in this. Some of us are a little bit divergent. Some of us might bounce all over the space, even in the context of one 10-minute argument with a partner. Inside the coaching room, if there are two people that are walled off, you get this sense that you're kind of dragging them, each fighting to the table to talk about something real, to talk about something vulnerable. And if in the coaching room with couples there is two boundaryless partners, you get the sense that you're in the middle of this, pushing them away to stop them hurting each other quite so ferociously. And one of the most painful dynamics, which will probably be on at least a few of you in the room on your remembrance of your relationships, is when we have somebody that's walled off and that's distancing, and somebody that's boundaryless, that's grasping and chasing and needing and wanting more. And they can be very, very painful dynamics to be stuck in, and we'll come back to that in a little moment. So my name's Christina, and I work with couples that fight. Badly, most of the time. My specialism is couples that are on the brink. But if there was ever a being put on this planet that was destined to be rubbish in relationship, it was me. I was born longing for connection and woefully incapable of what that was actually going to take to do a successful relationship. Like 22% of you in the room, I struggle with my mental health. Like about 8% of you in the room, I'm not neurotypical. Like about 8% of you again in the room, some bad stuff happened early on that made me grow a little bent out of shape. And like slightly less than 2% of you in the room, I have a severe mood disorder. So some mornings I wake up and it's like I've been on an MDMA drip overnight. Life is fabulous, it's expansive, it's huge, it's vast, there's endless possibility. I'm endlessly productive. And it's a really high experience of being a human. And other mornings, before I've even opened my eyes, there is a world of pain. There is a world of hurt and memories and fears, not because I choose it, not because I overthink, but because my nervous system and my biochemistry and my past is sometimes much louder than my present. And whilst in the world, that can be a little misunderstood, a little judged, and very challenging to live with, from my experience in the coaching room and in my industry, it's such an asset. It's such a gift to hold the extremes of polarity of what it means to be a human being, so that when my clients come into my room desperately facing a part of themselves that they're struggling with, they get to travel with somebody who's a frequent visitor to the two polarities. And we'll come back to that a little bit later. So you're busy walking through the world, minding your own business, and you collide with another human being. And there's possibility in that moment. Is this going to be the great redemptive experience I've been hunting for, I've been longing for, I've been looking for? And in the space that sits between these two eyes and these two hearts, and in this moment between these two bodies sits 4 powerful questions. Am I enough? Do I matter to you? Can I be fully known and fully safe with you? Will you be there for me? But loaded behind this space in between with the big questions are the decades that have happened to both of these people that have brought them to that moment. Decades of life lived, of family of origin, of neurotypes, of every experience that they've ever had in their entire life, everything that they've learned about themselves and about the other and about the world, and their sense of safety and worth and belonging that's come as a result of that. And from this moment, a relationship will pass through 3 very predictable phases, like clockwork. The first one being new relationship energy. It's absolutely delightful. We revel in it. About 60% of us will experience limerence, which is a obsessive, anxious, longing, preoccupied thought pattern where you would blow up your entire life in that moment for 10 minutes with this person. Not everybody experiences it, about 60% of us do. And in that new relationship energy, we notice everything that's the same. My gosh, we have so many shared values. We know 5% of information about who this person actually is, and we fill in the rest. They're amazing with dogs. I bet they're going to be great with kids. They're so good with their co-workers, they're going to love my mother. And we just fill in the gaps. And with a little bit of time passing, somewhere between 3 and 18 months, we move into the power struggle. And inside of the power struggle, things change. We now have the 95% that we made up. We've got real data, real lived alongside data. And what becomes important is all those values that you shared, you now see the standard with which this individual lives that value. So you share a value of family, but for you, that means you want to have lunch with your sister every 2 weeks. For them, it means they're going to phone their mum 5 times a day. We're spending 2 weeks with them at Christmas. We're having a family holiday in the summer. And the power struggle begins. The wrestle for whose preferences and whose needs and whose values and whose standards matter most in this minute. And at some point in time, and it's a crucial moment in the coaching room, there is this sense of, I've been duped. This is not what I signed up for. You are not who I fell in love with. I am not who I thought I was going to be in this relationship. And this is not what I signed up for. And in that moment, one of 3 things happens. The relationship ends. We have a relationship breakdown. And we just go on and repeat that cycle. New relationship energy, power struggle, can't make it work, end the relationship. And we do that indefinitely. Or we enter what we like to call the loop of doom, which people can do for decades. Maybe celebrating 65 years of marriage, but they might be 65 years of marriage with this going on in the background. Here's a familiar one for some of you. A trigger happens, and partner A gets angry. When partner A gets angry, partner B feels frightened. When partner B feels frightened, they withdraw. And when they withdraw, partner A feels abandoned. And we might go round and round and round on any version of this loop forever. Or we do the real work of relationship. And I'm sorry, Ali. We're coming to it. We do the real work of relationship, which is understanding where you contribute to and what you can do differently when this cycle happens for all of us. And it does happen. One version of it or other happens for all of us. So we get to do the real work of relationship. And I'm really sorry that it's regulation. Under enough pressure, we'll regress through 3 ego states. The first being our wise adult. This is the part of us that runs our life, that pays the bills, that deals with clients, that organizes things, that can show up, that can problem solve, that can make future-based decisions. This is the part of us that's curious about the experience of others, and importantly, it is the only part of us capable of real intimacy. Under enough pressure, most of us will regress back, all of us will regress back to our adaptive child. Emotionally, developmentally, somewhere in the teenhood. These are the ways that we learn to protect ourselves. These are colors on the grid. We will defend, we'll control, we'll please, we'll withdraw. We do those things to try and stop further pain from happening. We've learned that those are the things that stop further pain from happening. And under enough pressure, we'll regress even further back into a wounded child state. these are the parts of us that hold our actual pain. The people that broke our hearts, that should have loved us, that broke our hearts in the very early days. And the reason that we have all our adaptive strategies trying to protect us from having that experience. It's the part that holds the needs, that's frozen in time. It's fearful, it's hopeless, it's often physical. There's often this or a lashing out that happens. And it's a horrible internal experience to happen under enough pressure. It will happen to all of us. And the real work of relationship is learning how to regulate that inside of yourself back up through the wounded states so that we can advocate for those states from here. We can't solve the problems in the coaching room until everybody can do this, which is why I have a stabilisation program. I can't work in the room until we've got 2 wise adults, because there will always be one person who believes in that moment that their pain matters more. And as much as we're all looking for the wonderful relationship that's going to meet every single part of us in these places and make it all better, no partner can do these pieces for you. It's too much pressure to put on a relationship, especially if you're on the anxious avoidant spectrum and you're attracted to somebody on the other end of that spectrum. As a boundaryless person, I have to learn to hold the parts of myself that are needs that my partner is never going to be able to meet. And when we can do that successfully in relationship 4, we can advocate for these parts of ourselves. I notice something's coming up for me. I notice I really want to tell you what to do and control your actions at the moment, because underneath that, I'm feeling really scared. And this is what I need. And when we can advocate from that place, only then really can we know whether or not we're compatible with this other human being. We can know whether or not we can solve the problems that we face together. So it's the first step that happens inside of the coaching room. But a successful relationship doesn't necessarily mean one that endures or one that lasts forever. We don't measure success in terms of longevity, certainly not in my field. Because if we take a moment and use our relationships to do the deeper work inside of us, to love ourselves and others better, the journey of loving a boundaryless person will give you the most expansive experience of love you've ever had. And the journey of loving an avoidant person will teach you to love yourself. Thank you.